So a very warm welcome, everyone. This is, gosh, I'm a bit lost. I think it's the fifth in our series of 7 teachings on the Chenrezik practice. So to those of you who are here, very good morning. And then to those of you watching this on YouTube afterwards, then good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I want to say probably at some point in the session, my internet signal will go down. It's done that every session for the last 3 or 4 talks. So don't worry if I suddenly disappear. I should be back. And then if I'm back and my lips are moving, please wave your arms wildly so I know that the sound needs putting back on. Okay, so we're doing Chenrezik practice, and let's do the usual prayers we do, although we will be repeating Refuge and bodhichitta as we go through the practice together, first thing, up to the point that we've reached. Now, just need... Excuse me a moment, there's some text I need to pull up on screen. What's it called? Okay, I think I've got everything ready. I should have had it ready beforehand, but it was a bit busy. Okay, so let's turn our hearts in loving care to all of our fellow beings and feeling so joyful, so happy that we have Dharma in our life. Dharma is, of course, forever, and it's truth. Whatever the truth is, then that's Dharma. That's the way round it works. Whatever's in the religion, whatever's in the texts and so on, that's history. It needs a lot of investigation, but whatever is true is Dharma. So we are so happy to be unveiling the truth about ourselves, our mind, and everything through this Chenrezik practice. So very joyfully, we turn our loving hearts towards everyone and think that we are receiving these Chenrezik instructions and advice for our own benefit, of course, but so that as time goes by, we can be more and more benefit to more and more other sentient beings, just like us. So many of them, endless. Sonje chodon soji chonamla jancho badu dane chapsanje dagi jinso chipe sonamje drola penchara sonje druparasho semchen tamche dewa dang dewe jodang dempara joche Tungal dang tukngal chi judang tralpare joche. Tungal mepe dewa tampa dang men tralpare joche. Yeren jadang netang tralwe tanyom chempola ne para joche. Deata shame shamawati shameta shatru Amkurim arajite karota ke ore Te jowati olo yani vishuda nimale malapa Naye kukure Kaka grase grasana muke paramukia muke Shamedavane savagraha bandhanane nigrihitva Sava bara pravadina vimukta marapasha savita Buddha mudra nugatita sava mare putsarita parishuddhe Vigashantu sava maragama. Kalden sawe lama rinpoche Dagye chewara pende deshola Kadren chempo gune jizonte Kuson tuche ngadrup saldo sal. Thank you. So now we'll start doing the practice together up to the point we reached. So you'll need your practice text, but I'll put mine on screen. Sorry, I need to pin down papers. I've got a fan going, so it's blowing my papers around. Now, partage screen. Okay, can you see the text? Yep. Yep, good, thank you. So we sit quietly and then we relax and we feel that we are not alone, that with us in the end are all sentient beings. We're here right now to practice for everyone. Everyone is a tall order in one way. It's an abstract idea in another way. We didn't meet 99.99999% of all sentient beings. We haven't a clue. But with us, as we do the practice, are primarily those we have met, those we have karma with, those we know about. So in particular, we have our father and mother right next to us, just as though they're there, whether they're living or dead now. We try and feel them as though whatever happened in our story with those, their basic presence, their true nature, is very linked to us through karma. So our parents, our siblings, our children, those who've been vivid in our life, kind to us or tough on us, doesn't matter. They're part of our karma, and we've experienced another sentient being and their life and their mind through them. And then the animals, the pets, and so on, gradually from those very vivid for us to those somewhere in our life, to those we can think about. We've seen on TV people in other countries, India, China, Vietnam, America, whatever. Gradually, we feel the net of interconnection endlessly around us. And it's to help all of those beings that we are doing the Chenrezik practice. So all the way through the practice, every step, whatever happens for us, we feel we are taking our fellow beings through the same mind and experiential journey. As we open up our hearts in the practice, their hearts open. As we say the prayers, they say the prayers. As we visualize above our head, they are visualizing and feeling what is happening above their head. And then in front of us appears Chenrezik, so pure of presence that we are overwhelmed, so beautiful we can barely lift our eyes to look, and so full of the compassion of all the Buddhas that tears would come to our eyes very, very easily. We take refuge in all the refuges, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, Gurus, Yidams, protectors, but all of them, what are they? They are all the various expressions of totally pure compassion. And that's what Chenrezik is. So we take refuge in Chenrezik, along with all our fellow beings. And then, having taken refuge, we make a solemn promise in front of Chenrezik. So in the past sessions, we did refuge and bodhichitta separately. When we train, when we give it weeks or months, just for this part one, we train just to get the refuge feeling. And then we train just to get the bodhicitta feeling. So something authentic is happening. Now today, we'll do the two together. We will take refuge, and then I need to disactivate your microphones. Good. Yeah, we will take refuge. We'll say the words, the 4 lines all together. We'll take refuge in Chenrezik, and then we'll promise to Chenrezik that we will become Buddhas to help everyone. Sanje chodan soji chonam la chan choy pandu dani jam sonji dagi konde jipe sunam ji drola penjera sanje dronarju. Sanje cholam soji chonam la chan chol mando dani cham sonje dagir komde jipe sunam ji drola penjera sanje dronarju. Sanje chodan soji chonam la chan chol bando dani cham sonje dagi komde jipe sunam ji drola penjera Sanje. Then Chenrezik in front of us, very clear in form, dissolves into many, many, many light rays that in turn dissolve into us and all of the fellow beings around us. And we feel we receive the protection, the guidance, the support of refuge from all of the authentic sources of refuge. And then we receive the blessing, the companionship of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and in particular, Chenrezik, for our Bodhisattva journey. We feel the love and compassion and all the Bodhisattva qualities of forbearance and kindness and generosity and meditation and so on. We feel connected to all of those who went before us on this path, who are with us now on this path, and who will meet in the future. As it says in the prayer, today we are born in the family of Buddhas. Today we become children of the Buddhas. And we sit quietly in the presence of refuge and bodhicitta. We become aware of our own body, our own physical presence, and in particular of the space directly above our head, this sacred space, which is the home of the Guru and of all of the yidams. So now I need to shift the text. Okay. So now for the next part, which is the first initial meditation with its two aspects of samayasattva, us creating a link with the real Chenrezik, and jnanasattva, the real presence of Chenrezik everywhere in the universe, in our Guru, in all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, where that actually comes to us. So this is the process of creating. It's a creation phase, but at the same time, we are not locked just in our own imagination's creation. We make a created form, and then we relax into openness so that the real blessing of Chenrezik, as already experienced in our Guru, in all the Kaju Gurus, in all the Gurus, and in all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, we need to make space, make the right mind conditions for their blessing, their presence to come into us. So we can either recite the text first and then go through the visualization, or we can do the visualization, then recite the text. Or once we're very used to the text, we can visualize as we go along. So now we'll recite it first. And here you don't need to fold your hands. You can just rest your hands on your lap. Taso kachap sam chenji chitsup pe karada weten rile pancho Chenrezik kasal wazen aden shro zezon toije chenjize changshe dampo tanjarze oni shalten pekaranam tadarin chenjenjitre Reda pape toyo so wapame pe ojenjen Shapni doje children shu Dreme dawara japtempa Chapne kondo ora jora. So now let all of your awareness rise as you sit well to the space above the head, above your head. At the same time, everyone around us is redirecting their awareness above their head. And there we feel that there is a white, 8-petaled lotus flower made of light. And the easiest way to visualize it is to imagine it's always been there. And just now we're discovering it, unveiling it. In our mind's eye, as we are fully aware of it, it is a very beautiful white 8-petaled lotus. The petals have a slight pink hue. Like all lotuses, it has a very flat center. That's what it looks like in our imagination. But what it feels like is transcendent purity. That's why it's above us. It's transcendent and above all the busyness of our life and the confusion of our mind and our ignorance and our mind's poisons, the habits. This has always been there, our true nature, our Buddha nature. So first we tune into its purity as a perfect white lotus. And of course, when we're training, we can spend days, weeks, months getting to visualize this clearly until we go on to the next step. And then once the lotus is there, on the lotus is a flat, shimmering disk of light, very alive. It looks like a disk of light. It's called a moon disk. But it's a flat disk of light hovering just above the central platform of the lotus. It looks like a disk of light, but it feels like our innate cosmic intelligence, wisdom, deep awareness of what always was, pure awareness. Just aware, directly, no need for thoughts. And then standing upright facing forward on the moon disk is the pure white syllable 3. Hridaya, the heart essence of everything, our Buddha nature, our true nature, encapsulated in syllable 3. And one-pointedly we practice meditation, holding it perfectly on the 3. 3 is our portal to Chenrezik. 3 is our direct connection to all the compassion of all the Buddhas. And so we dismiss any distraction as soon as it arises and hold our awareness totally on 3. And if it helps, you can say 3, 3, 3, 3. And through our one-pointed meditation, the 3 shines more and more brightly. And then it shines so much that light beams and light rays burst forth from it. All sorts, all colors, some straight shafts of life, some beautiful curly rainbows, all sorts, as we hold our mind on the 3. That is the mind picture. The feeling is several things. One is a feeling of deep respect and devotion and gratitude to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas for the way they accomplished totally pure heart and mind, wisdom and compassion, power to help others. Another feeling of the light from the 3 is a longing. If only I could be like them. If only there could be the very best of all sharing between their skills and me. We want so much what they've got. This is the feeling also. Feeling of humility, respect, openness, ready to receive. But then also the feeling from the light rays is one of great compassion to our fellow beings. So we visualize upwards, as we say. The light beams carry offerings and praise and our devotion and gratitude and respect and prayers for help to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And then other light rays go to all the different realms of living beings, all the different varieties of humans and animals and so on. And these help. It's like the flow between you and somebody else when you really help them. There's something very wonderful about truly helping others. So the light beams from the 3 give true help in all sorts of ways to sentient beings. So we spend time with all of those, offering praise, respect, devotion, longing for help, and then material aid, Dharma aid, every sort of help and comfort to sentient beings. So, of course, we need to practice this step by step over the days, the weeks, the month, until this becomes very vivid. It's a training. We need step by step to do it. But as we saw last week, in the end, through our one-pointed focus and all of these sincere and virtuous feelings towards the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and in particular towards the essence of Chenrezik that they carry, and then to all sentient beings, then the lights that have been radiating return with the blessings of all the Buddhas and the gratitude of sentient beings. And through these two levels of our activity, which will be for the rest of our time until we're enlightened, service and learning to the Buddhas and service to sentient beings. Through the power of our activity, then the lights instantly, once they hit the tree above our head, transform the tree into Chenrezik. The next stage of the training is then becoming more and more familiar with the form of Chenrezik that we visualize. But then as we visualize, knowing the meaning, the feeling of each part of Chenrezik, and as time goes by, putting all of those things together. Now, without blathering on too much, but it's important, this is what we can do in our imagination that we can't do in thought. You can only think one thing at a time. One topic, like stability of meditation or blessing of the 5 Buddha families. You can't do 2 at a time. You can jump between one and the other very quickly, but your thinking mind can only do one thing at a time. Our imagination can do many things at a time. Imagery. So like if you have a photo of somewhere from your childhood, as you look at it or you hold the memory of it in your mind, then the whole feel of that time and the people and how you were and the smell of the garden and whatever it was, it's very powerful. So our imagination is a wonderful tool that here we are harnessing in meditation. So Chenrezik embodies everything that makes up compassion. If you were with me for the study of the 6 paramita, or if you studied them everywhere else, you know very well we need all 6 of them perfect for real compassion. And each one of them has so many beautiful aspects and qualities. So Chenrezik embodies all of them. So Chenrezik that we see feels like everything that goes to make up compassion. So let's explore some of the image of Chenrezik above us. First of all, Chenrezik's body is made of light. You have no trouble that Chenrezik is going to drop down and crush you from above. Chenrezik's body is a weightless body of light. More than that, it is hollow. It is only an outer form, like a soap bubble. The outer form is radiant. It's made of light and rainbows and so on. But inside, empty. It's not solid light from back to front. This is why no image can convey it. I've tried with video graphics designers. Our imagination can do it. It's wonderful, the imagination. So Chenrezik's body is made of light. The light of wisdom and compassion. Nevertheless, there is tremendous presence. This is the deepest love, the deepest compassion of the entire universe. So that is there above us, showing itself as this radiant form of light. But the feel is such love for every being. There is no limit to the amount of love and compassion we can feel in Chenrezik above us. And perhaps more than anything, this is present as Chenrezik's face. Chenrezik's face is the kindest face you'll ever see in all of your existences. Whatever you've seen in this life, in somebody else's face of kindness, of loving care for somebody else, multiply that by 100 million. So beautiful, so purely caring for everybody, uncompromisingly, unconditionally. It's hard to look at Chenrezik's face. It's the face of the absolute truth of us, of everything, which is so kind and loving. So Chenrezik's eyes look on each and every being, knowing them, knowing their past lives, knowing their future, knowing their present, and look on them with such kindness. So you might want to spend a few weeks just working in your imagination on what Chenrezik's eyes must be like. Chenrezik sits in perfect meditation, and the whole feel is one of total stability, reliability, trustworthiness. And in particular, Chenrezik's legs are crossed in the Vajra posture, symbolizing the deepest of all meditations, which is the basis for perfect compassion. Chenrezik's four arms look like four arms, and we practiced getting the feel of those last week a little bit. But they feel like the four immeasurable contemplations. Perfect love, perfect compassion, perfect sympathetic joy, perfect equanimity. Those four that in other places we learn about, the four Brahma Viharas, the four abodes of purity of mind. That's what Chenrezik's arms feel like. And of course, as we saw, as we played around with, then the left hand holds a lotus flower and the right hand holds a crystal mala, and the two lower hands hold a wish-fulfilling gem to the heart. We looked at their meaning last week. Chenrezik has very long hair made of light, but the light looks like hair. Very long. Half of it is tied up in a top knot, and half of it flows very freely over Chenrezik's shoulders. So as we imagine the hair, then the feel of it is this. The half that's tied up in a top knot is the mind that never leaves ultimate reality. Never separate from Dharmakaya, the five Buddha families and so on. The mind that never leaves that. But at the same time, the thousands, tens of thousands of strands that flow down very freely are the relative reality, manifestation of compassion to help each and every being. So there's so many endless beings, so many strands of hair. And this non-duality, simultaneity of never leaving the pure state, but at the same time helping beings, we learn about in the Buddha nature teachings, and here we feel it as Chenrezik's hair. To practice feeling what Chenrezik's like, just like we did with the four arms, you can imagine, whether you're bored or whether you have a lot of hair, that you've got a lot of hair and you've got half of it tied up, and what it feels like to never leave ultimate truth, shunyata, but at the same time manifest in many beings' worlds, being of their worlds, being in their worlds, but not of their worlds. That's the hair. And then Chenrezik has 5 major aspects of jewelry. These, in our imagination, look like jewelry, but then they have the feeling of the first 5 paramita: generosity, pure conduct, forbearance, diligence, and meditation. The 5 pieces of jewelry are the necklaces, the earrings, the tiara, crown, and then the jeweled belt and the bangles on the wrists and on the ankles. Now these, if you want to develop your imagination, you might want to go to the most expensive part of your city and go to the jewelry shops and see just how wonderful, very, very, very expensive jewelry can be crafted. The best metals, the best gems. So Chenrezik's jewels, all of which are made of light in our mind, were made in the Deva realms. Why? Why are we visualizing this? It's because when we study the paramita and we realize all it takes to meditate, if it's the 5th paramita, perfection, all it takes to give of yourself purely, properly, generosity or forbearance, all it takes to put up with what samsara throws at us and so on, you will realize that this is such beautiful skill that we need to craft. It's like the basis for it, like the metal you work for jewelry, needs to be pure to start with, and then that needs to be crafted. And then into that we set gems of pure mind, pure conduct, pure attitude, pure help. So this is why, you might think, what on earth's Buddha doing wearing a crown and with bangles? Buddha doesn't need bangles. But the meaning is so deep. So we do our very best to make the image, but at the same time feel, and especially in our own guru, the living qualities of the paramitas manifested in this way. Chenrezik's legs are in the Vajra posture, symbolizing meditation. And then in the top knot of Chenrezik, sometimes inside, sometimes above, there is a small Buddha Amitabha. So all the real presence of Buddha Amitabha, who is what we call the main Buddha, the leader of Chenrezik's lotus family. Whatever it is, Chenrezik above us is our guiding light. Chenrezik's own guiding power is Amitabha above Chenrezik's head. And then the text says that to the back of Chenrezik is a glowing moon. Now actually there isn't a moon disk. This is about Chenrezik's light aura, which looks like a moon disk all around Chenrezik and around the head. So we imagine this halo of presence, this aura of perfect Chenrezik presence. Now, one last point about what we're learning. This is why it's a training. It might take us years to visualize above us. What the Hri became is that in the 3 most sacred places of Chenrezik, so inside the head, at the level of the forehead, but inside, and in the throat, and in the heart chakra. Well, there are 3 places, and this will be the same for all the other visualizations you do, are the 3 primordial sacred syllables that I ask you to learn to draw. Om, which is the presence of the blessing of the bodies of all the Buddhas. Bodies means the way they manifest. Om, white Om, in Chenrezik's throat chakra is a red A, the speech, the teachings of all of the Buddhas. And then in Chenrezik's heart center is a deep blue Om, which is the mind of all the Buddhas. So Chenrezik above us has this blessing of body, speech, and mind of all the Buddhas. So this is what we just recited, the text. If you read the translation, then it is this visualization. And we need to sit and work on that. Now, okay, so that's sort of talked us through the teachings. Just practically, how do we do this? Well, one wonderful thing to do, if you've realized you've got the rest of your life to get Chenrezik practice super duper, is paint your own Chenrezik. There's something about using a brush, and it's not going to go on exhibition. Nobody's going to judge it if you're not a very good artist. But the fact of looking, copying, erasing if you need to, getting it right, means we have to look at each point bit by bit. It's very, very helpful. Another thing you can do is invest in a large image of Chenrezik, and then you go into a dark place with a torch that's got a very pointed beam. And then, so you're in the dark, you switch on the torch, and then let's say it's Chenrezik's eyes. You shine the torch on the eyes, you have a good look. What's the lines, the black lines, the red lines? How do they curve up at the end? How do they curve round towards the nose? What do the eyes look like? And then you turn off the torch and you try and reproduce it in your mind. And then what is not clear in your mind, you turn on the torch again. Ah, yes, the top of the eye is like that, or the nose is like this, or the jaw is like that. Then you turn on the light, turn off the light. If for 1 day or 2 days you focus on one feature, you'll find the next day you've got a vague Chenrezik above you with super clear eyes. And so bit by bit, as the weeks go by, oh, now he's got a clear nose and clear ears, and then the legs, and bit by bit. And then we work on the radiance of the aura, and how do you visualize that? How does it feel? And so on. You do it bit by bit, rather than, as I said at the beginning, do the same fuzzy image again and again, day after day, year after year, so that in 20 years' time, you've still got the same vague image above you. This is a practice we are learning. So we work on it very clearly. And each thing that we learn to envisage, we try and feel what it means. So I think the next thing I'd like to do, because we need to move on quite significantly today in the instructions, is to share like I mentioned some sessions ago, the video we're working on, it's not finished. So it's the image of Chenrezik. It's very solid. It looks like it's made of marble. Remember, it's made of transparent light. It's just something to help us get towards something so beautiful above you. The most beautiful, beautiful presence and image. So can you see? Can you see the screen, the monk with Chenrezik, with the tree? Can you wave a hand if you can see? Yep, good, thank you. So I'll run the video and stop it. So there is the lotus. Now in this one, it's like I said before, it's not the 8-petaled lotus that's in the original text, but anyway, it's a lotus. And then you can see the moon disk. This is as far as we got last time. So, sorry, I need to go back a bit. Lotus, moon lotus still with a green base. Moon disk. And then 3 appears. Now what you don't see here is that the 3 gets brighter and brighter. It radiates lights upwards in devotion to all the Buddhas and in praying for their help. And as I mentioned last time, you can make the light beams have offering gods and goddesses on the end and so on, and then radiating to help sentient beings. Through that, at the end, then the 3 gets brighter and brighter and becomes Chenrezik, with the 1 face and 4 arms and the legs in the Vajra posture, 5 sorts of jewelry. And here there's no Amitabha above the head, but Amitabha is in the top knot. You can see the 5, the crown has 5 jewels. So the crown in the real Chenrezik is in the 4 sides of the head and the top, and it's the 5 main Buddhas of the 5 Buddha families. Chenrezik holds a wish-fulfilling gem to the heart, the jewel of Mahamudra that grants all beings wishes. There's a crystal rosary in the right hand, and there is a perfectly pure lotus flower held in the left hand. And Chenrezik's legs are in the Vajra posture. The feel is most perfect, stable, profound meditation. And Chenrezik embodies the compassion of all the Buddhas. And this is happening above our heads and everyone else. So now we come to the next stage of the practice. There we had samayasattva, jnanasattva. We made something, an image. And then that image, through radiating lights and our own minds' openness, we are learning to be receptive, relax, so that in the stage we just did, the real presence of Chenrezik, as so many great masters have experienced in their visions, in their meditation. We're allowing that to come and inhabit our creation, so that from beginning to end, this practice is not just us going on a mind journey that we create, where we're in control. There's a feeling of openness is very, very important. Now we're going to take this deeper in the next stage. Your realization, your development, your maturing as a human being won't really happen unless you work on the feelings, like here, of openness, receptivity, wanting, longing for the Buddha's blessings to come in. And then the next step is very, very important and not easy. So it's about devotion. So now, here we are in our normal form. Here's Ken, this one here, sitting down, and in my imagination, above my head, could be very, very large, is now the blessing of all the Buddhas and my own Guru in this beautiful, meaningful form of Chenrezik. The next stage is longing to become Chenrezik oneself. If you know the Buddha's teaching, I don't want to develop it too much here, but in order to become Chenrezik, you have to let go of your samsara. And we've been hanging on to samsara for such a long time. So the Dharma work we want needs to let go of the self-centeredness, which is the core of samsara. And if we become Chenrezik, the only reason we're alive is to help others. That's all. So you really want to be up for that. You can't be wanting a nice, cushy samsara and be doing Chenrezik practice as an insurance policy, where you can say, I did the prayers every day. This part is about, do you really want this? Do you really want to become a bodhisattva? Do you really want to let go? Because letting go will be very hard. Unless you have a wonderful past lives where you've been practicing Dharma so beautifully for so long that this all comes super smooth. Letting go me and my needs will be hard. And acquiring compassion will be a lot of work. And this next step is about longing for that to happen. So in this practice, we do 4 lines, and we do them as devotedly and as beautifully as we can. But this is a place where we can add other prayers, and that can be very helpful if they are prayers that help you. So we have 2 main prayers from Galongma Palmo. I don't think I've got time to talk about her today, but she was somewhat amazing Chenrezik practitioner. And then there's Pema Karpo's prayer. So these 2 very meaningful prayers, if they work for you, if when you read these prayers you start to feel tingling and devotion, and you might want to cry, or your hair goes a little bit on end, then do them because they help. But just reading the thing isn't magic. You need to feel it. Otherwise, we can keep it simple and embody everything in the 4 lines that I'll put on screen in a moment. And these are Jowo Junji Maga Kundo Kara, Zoksonjeji Ulajen, Tukje Chenji Drolazik, Chenrezik La Chatsalo. So Chatsalo at the end means I prostrate. And when we do it, then it says, do this as much as you can, or at least 108 times. Or if not, at least 21 times. Or if not, at least 7 times. And if really, really not, then a bare minimum of 3 times. But the idea is that you do it until you crack. This longing, if only I could become Chenrezik. So if we have endless time, let's say you're doing a Chenrezik retreat, it will be much more important that you just keep doing this for 20 minutes, half an hour, until the real longing cracks something open. Then if you do it 3 times or 7 times and then get on with the rest of the practice. It's a key moment. So when you're on your own and training, you might want to find a beautiful melody and to sing it slowly and thinking of Tangtong Gyalpo or all the compassion that's anywhere helping people. What a beautiful thing it is. How would the world be without compassion? and how wonderful that Buddha showed us how to be not just feeling compassion, but practicing it through the 6 paramitas. And how wonderful the people who can do all of that. So if you've had the good fortune to meet, like I met Akon Rinpoche or my great teachers, someone whose life embodies that kindness, that compassion, then you can really long from the depths of your heart, because this is the point. Long from the depths of your heart to be like that. And even if I can't do it tomorrow, to want to go as quickly as possible so that later in this life or in the next life, my life is meaningful like this. So let me put the text on the screen and discuss what happens next. Okay. So let me talk you through this. You can see now on the screen the English translation, one highest one, white in color, unblemished by any fault, and whose head is crowned by a perfect Buddha, Amitabha. You look upon beings with eyes filled with immense compassion. I bow down to you, Chenrezik. So we'll do sitting prostrations when we do this, to the forehead and the throat and the heart. And now, so above your head is Chenrezik, 4 arms, 1 face, and with all the field I just mentioned. And we are longing for our mind to become Chenrezik's mind. It says, keep praying until every tiny hair on your body stands on end, and tears of love for everyone flow from your eyes. Jowo janji maga kondo kara zok sonji jiwulajan tuji chenji drola zi chenrezila chansan. Jowo chanji maga kondo kara zo sonji jiwulajan toinji chenji drola zi Chenrezila chansan. Jowo chanji maga kondo kara zo sonji jiwulajan tuji chenji drola zi chenrezila chansan. Okay, so we don't have time to do 108 of them together, but I think you have got the idea. Now, as I mentioned in previous talks, the Chenrezik practice itself is a roadmap of our own journey to enlightenment and pure compassion. So once we've done this, it's a journey of deeper and deeper intimacy with our own Buddha nature and our own compassion. So we start out, and Chenrezik's in front of us, we take refuge and give rise to bodhichitta. Then Chenrezik becomes closer, above our heads, very, very close. And then now, through thinking of all Chenrezik's qualities, which are really the buried qualities of our own mind, and then praying with longing to become like that, the next stage as our journey, bodhisattva journey, develops, and we really and truly are longing, because we're so sick and fed up of samsara, and we've done it and it's ruined us again and again. So comes the point where you're really longing before you die for this purity. Then that will help Chenrezik really suddenly take new presence inside us from our own Buddha nature, from within. So what we visualize next is that having prayed 108 or 21 or 7 or 3 times, then through the power of our devoted wish to be like Chenrezik, Chenrezik again radiates, becomes so brilliant, it's a light that fills the entire universe. And through that, in one instant, it's not a nice example, but like an atomic explosion, all of a sudden, everything changes. Everyone changes. So the next stage is that we change. And our father and mother and brother and sister and children and all those people around us endlessly, they all change. And the environment changes. And now we are pure. And we're in a pure place. Our work is not yet finished. And this is like reaching first bodhisattva level. It's a huge change. This will happen. This will happen. So now the light from Chenrezik means that everyone becomes Chenrezik or Tara. If you want a simple version, then all the females become Tara, all the males become Chenrezik. Doesn't really matter. Everyone becomes bodhisattvas, but in particular, we ourselves become Chenrezik. So now we have to train in not just having Chenrezik above us. What does it feel like to be Chenrezik? Last week we played with a flower, and what does it feel like to have 4 arms? What does it feel like to look on everyone with nothing but unconditional love? Maybe check out how you go around all day long looking at people. Look at that one with suspicion, look at that one with this and that one. If you've got a mindful awareness, which is like a CCTV camera of Ken's face as he goes through the day, and looks at what's happening on TV or these people you pass in the street or whatever. What does it feel like for your face to be so relaxed? You're not looking with fear. You're not looking with contempt. Just nothing but love. Sometimes we see it, a little tiny version, micro version in ourselves, in life. When somebody's in a moment of love, sometimes their cheeks flush, they look kind, they've got their eyes look starry and almost filled with tears, because it's a wonderful thing, wonderful feeling. So we try to feel what it's like to be Chenrezik, and then as we sit, no matter how well you can sit in a posture, we, in our imagination, in our mind's eye, we are not just sitting with a perfect Vajra posture, legs made of light now, but the feeling is that all of the inner energy channels, everything that we are, is balanced. Meditation is strong, is blissful, is non-conceptual. Anything you know about perfect meditation, that's how Chenrezik feels. As we feel the hands and then the left hand holding the lotus, no matter where you go, your mind stays pure. It's not corrupted by anyone or anything. And then the crystal mala, taking one being after another, helping them out of their misery, and your hands holding a wish-fulfilling gem. So wherever you go, whoever makes contact with you, auspicious things happen, virtue happens, their heart opens to Dharma. And then above your head is Buddha Amitabha with the discerning wisdom and so on. On your head, and it feels so beautiful, is the fivefold crown of the perfect presence of the five Buddha families. And so on and so on. We need to train what it feels like to be Chenrezik, and above and beyond and behind all of that, to really believe it, that this is who you really are. That kindness, that stability, that wisdom, this is the real you. We are opening up this realization, but it will only come through devotion. Devotion overcomes ego, overcomes pride, which is our worst enemy. So after the Jowo Chönchi prayer many times, then Chenrezik transforms all of us, and then the whole world around becomes pure land. Nothing but light and goodness, or even the idea of samsara and suffering isn't present. So I think we need to go back to the text. Okay, so the next part of the text expresses this. Through this one-pointed prayer, light radiates from the form of the Sublime One, Chenrezik, purifies impure karma, impure appearances, and the deluded mind. The outer environment is now the pure land of Dewa Chen, and the bodies and the speech and the minds of beings therein are the perfect form, sublime speech, and pure mind of mighty Chenrezik, the indivisible union of appearance, sound, and vivid intelligence with voidness. So there's no time to explain this last sentence in the formal teaching. Appearance and voidness, sound and voidness, intelligence and voidness. In our bodhisattva training, we need to understand what they really mean in a very, very wise way. So let's say the prayer together. De tara se che sol ta pe pa pe kule wazetre ma dale no tru she jam Jina dewa chen yishin Nang chu jen roi long na sam Chenrezik wang ku son tuk Nan jarik tong yen So tell me, by waving a hand, when I showed the bit of the video earlier on, was it moving? Could you see it going from stage to stage? Yep. Good. Okay, well, I'm going to put it back on just to bring us up to date. So we got this far. After the three radiated the lights, the three turned into Chenrezik, and then we spend quality time visiting each part of Chenrezik and sometimes feeling the whole with clarity, purity, and certainty. We try and see it in our mind's eye as clarity as we can. The purity is we try to remember what it expresses, the four arms, the legs, the 5 Buddha crown, and so on. And then certainty is absolutely certain this has always been there. So then, I think we're moving. We pray, Jobu Junji Maga Kundo Kala Zokson Jeju La Jen Tuji Junji Drolazik Chenrezik La Chopavol. So then we become Chenrezik beneath the Chenrezik. And we'll move on in our next session, which I think is next week, to see the main heart of the practice, the mantra recitation. So what happens next? Inside Chenrezik above us, inside ourselves, and inside each and every sentient being. So let's now dedicate anything that was good and useful in this morning's teaching. Sonam di tamche zikpani topne nye pedranam pamchene je ganachi palap trukpaye tsipe sole drowa drowarasho janchob semcho rinpoche maje panam jejochi jepa nyampa me padam kongne kongdo elwarasho Gewa di nyododa, Chenrezik kwang, trukjone, drowa chikjang malopa, deyisala, kamparasho.